All A division students, enter your attendance in the chat box, please.
Okay. Can you see the screen? Someone's microphone is on. Please switch off your microphones, all of you students. Can you hear me? Am I audible? And is the
Yes,
screen
ma'am.
visible?
Yes,
Is the
ma'am.
screen visible? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Now we have finished till yesterday all the parts of brain, all forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. We have revised also yesterday, but small part from this is remaining. That is what ventricles. This part, though it is a part of brain, but I need to explain you differently, separately. That's why this part I have taken separately. Okay, and you will come to know the location and everything. So ventricles of human brain, and then we will talk about the next part, that is the spinal cord. Now first let us talk about the ventricles. Now there are total, what we are going to study, four ventricles in the brain. Okay, first ventricle and second ventricle, they are considered to be known by paracel, and the location is right cerebral hemisphere and left cerebral hemisphere. Okay, now as we have studied the brain, those who have revised, then only they will understand. We have taken the revision yesterday, but still these names, as I told you already, that these names are little bit different than the normal which we use. So cerebrum is the part of forebrain, whereas cerebellum is the part of hindbrain, as I told you yesterday also. So cerebral hemisphere means that cerebrum is, if you remember, it is divided into right and left hemisphere. I told you the meaning also of hemi is half, sphere, surrounded, spherical structure. Okay, half spherical. So two half sphericals, one to the right and one to the left. So accordingly, right and left cerebral hemispheres, these are, that is the cerebrum part, that is cerebrum which is divided into right and left cerebral hemisphere. So there these ventricles are present, first and second. So these are parallel, that is called as paracel. Cell means cavity, you remember, seal, so many times we have used this word last year also. Cell is what? Cavity. So that cavity, ventricles, is nothing but, it is a system, ventricular system is nothing but a set of communicating cavities within the brain. These, that is nothing but the set of communicating cavities within the brain. And whenever I tell you something new which is not there in the textbook, or whatever I explain in the normal simpler language, that you there and there itself, then and there itself, you note it down by pencil on in the textbook, wherever it is. Okay, so remember that ventricular system is nothing but a set of communicating cavities within the brain, and these structures are responsible for production, transport, and removal of CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid, which base this system, central nervous system. So remember now, these first and second are known by paracel. First and second ventricles are known by paracel, as right and left cerebral hemisphere is the location. Then the third ventricle, that is called as diocele. Cell is cavity, as I said, and that is located in the diencephalon. What is the which is the part, this diencephalon? Again, the last part of which forebrain or midbrain? You tell me if you remember. Last part of forebrain, where this diocele is present, and there where the third ventricle is present, and that is known as diocele. Okay, then fourth ventricle is known as myelocele, and this is present in medulla oblongata. as yesterday itself you have discussed, you have learned. So you should remember that this is a part of hindbrain. Okay, so this fourth ventricle is present in the medulla oblongata and it is known as myelocele. Okay, now we'll talk again in little explanatory manner where the two paraceles are connected to the median diacele individually by the two foramina of Monro or interventricular foramina. Foramina is the passage. You can remember just passage. Okay. Foramina of the passage. So these two paraceles are connected to median diacele. That means these two parallel first and second ventricles, these are connected to the diacele, which is called as third ventricle, that is medially present. So median diacele, that is called as, and individually by two foramina of Monro. That what is that two foramina? I will show you. That is the passage. That two foramina, foramina of Monro means nothing but the interventricular passage that connects the two lateral ventricles to the third ventricle, and its opening is between the lateral, these two lateral ventricles, and the third ventricle. And the main function of this is what? It allows CSF to pass between them. As I said just now, that the main function is of CSF is produced as well as it is allowed to pass through in between them. So that is nothing but the main function of foramina. A foramen Monro, that is what that is the passage which is present, which is connecting these two lateral ventricles to the third ventricle, that is diacele. Okay, and the myelocele and the diacele are connected by a narrow canal called iter. So first two are connected to the third ventricle by foramina of Monro. That is also called as interventricular foramina. Inter, that means in between the ventricles, that is present, that is the passage in between the ventricles. That passage in between the ventricles is called as foramina of Monro, and this is present between, means these two lateral ventricles, first and second, they are connected to the third one. Whereas the myelocele and the diacele, that means the fourth and third. Diacele is the third ventricle, myelocele is the fourth ventricle, are connected by a narrow canal called iter or aqueduct of Sylvius. That is also known as cerebral aqueduct. Aqueduct is nothing but the duct is what you know the meaning. Aqui, that is aqueous. That means what is again the thing here related to that? CSF is allowed to go through passage. It provides the passage, as I said. And iter is the name, that is the I just remember the long form. The name is totally different, but the long form is what? That is International Thermonuclear Experiment Reactor. That is actually related to the thermonuclear plant, but as that it is related to some extent with the communication, that is the here in this case you can remember this iter as ventricular system, that is set of communicating cavities within the brain, and this structure is very important, which allows the passage between the third and fourth ventricle of the brain. So just remember that aqueduct of Sylvius or iter. Iter is, if you can remember iter, but I have told you that its long form is different, which is directly not related to this system, but it is nothing but the International Thermonuclear Experiment Reactor. If you want, you can write it down also. International Thermonuclear Experiment Reactor. That word has come from there, iter. But here you remember aqueduct of Sylvius, where this is nothing but the cerebral aqueduct. That is the passage between third and fourth ventricle. And again, the function is same. That is what? Passage for movement of the CSF, that is the cerebrospinal fluid. The metacele is continuous with the central canal of the spinal cord. Now we'll see in the, that is the last, metacell is the last part. Now this is what it is shown. As yesterday also I showed you that these are the lateral uh, ventricles, as I showed you here. You can remember all the ventricles are shown. See, these are the two parallel. That is the paracele. Cele is the cavity running parallelly. Right and left ventricles called as paraceles. These are all. Cele is what? Cavity, considered to be the passage for the cerebrospinal fluid. So this is what paracele or first and second ventricles as right and left ventricles. Okay, that is present in the cerebrum. That is present. The location is what? Cerebrum. Then this middle part which connects these two to the next fourth one. This is what called as third ventricle. And this is called, third ventricle is called as diocele. Okay, and that is present in the diencephalon, that is located in the diencephalon. So these two, first and second ventricles called as paracele. Then this is the third ventricle called as diocele, and this is the fourth ventricle that is called as metacele. That, and this is the passage. So here one more thing, just now what I was telling, that is these two lateral ventricles get connected to the third ventricle by the passage that is called as foramen of Monro. That passage is very small, and that passage is meant for the cerebrospinal fluid. And again, this third ventricle connects to the fourth ventricle, and this passage is also known as cerebral aqueduct or cerebral aqueduct, that is aqueduct of Sylvius or Iter. So these are the two passages which connect the previous ventricle to the next ventricle. Here lateral ventricles to the third ventricle, and third ventricle to the fourth ventricle, and this fourth ventricle is also called as metacele, and that is present in the medulla oblongata. Remember. Now here again in this diagram you can see this is the passage which connects these two lateral ventricles, first and second, that paracele, to the second, that is the third ventricle, that is called as, this passage is called as foramen of Monro. Whereas this diocele gets connected to the fourth ventricle, third gets connected to the fourth ventricle by this passage that is called as aqueduct of Sylvius or cerebral aqueduct or Iter. Okay, so this is what the central canal, you can remember in this way. And there is no other way just to remember how they get connected. So what is cerebrospinal fluid? It fills the ventricles of the brain and subarachnoid space. If you remember all these layers of brain which we have learned, that meninges, that means the coverings or the layers of brain, the outermost as dura mater, the middle one as arachnoid, and the innermost as pia mater, then you will remember. Okay, so this is what the it fills the ventricles of the brain and subarachnoid space. Subarachnoid space means just below the arachnoid layer, in between the arachnoid and the pia mater, whatever the space is present in that area, that is filled by CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid. And the ventricles, as I said, that is nothing but the network of cavities, or these are considered to be the communicating cavities of the brain through which this CSF passes. Okay, so it is nothing but alkaline colorless fluid which is filtered from choroid plexus into the ventricles of brain. Yesterday I explained you what does it mean, that means choroid plexuses. What is that choroid plexuses? Yesterday I told you. If anybody remembers, you can unmute yourself and tell me what is that choroid plexus. Okay, I will tell you. That is nothing but, again I will revise you, that is nothing but the network of capillaries, that is blood vessels of brain, producing CSF, and it provides toxin barrier. Yesterday I told you it works as a toxin barrier to the brain. So that means what? And also other central nervous system tissues. That means if any toxin is produced, that is uh, not allowed to reach the brain. So that works as a barrier. So that is also very important role played by choroid plexus. So CSF is alkaline colorless fluid which is filtered from the choroid plexuses into the ventricles of the brain. So there it is filtered from, and then from the choroid plexuses it goes to the ventricles, these cavities of the brain. Okay, and it serves as shock absorbing medium. It is very very important. So especially it is shown by different color here. That is shock absorbing medium. If there is any injury, then in that case, in maximum cases, that is that brain is saved because of this medium, that is the CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid, so that it absorbs whatever the shock is given, jerk is given, whatever the injury is there, that shock is absorbed. So it is very important role of the CSF, that is it is working as a shock absorbing medium. Then one more point you can remember, that it is recycled 4 times per day in order to clear metabolites and toxins. So when it is recycled in that time, every time during that recycling, it is filtered. You can say toxins are removed. Excess of material with that and the toxins, these are removed. So that is very very important role of CSF. Now, this is what about all the points about the ventricles. Now we'll talk about the spinal cord. So we have finished under central nervous system, the first part of the central nervous system, that is the brain. So all the types of brain we have revised yesterday, all the parts of the brain we have revised yesterday, and now only small part of that, that is the ventricle, was remaining, that we have discussed right now. Now after that we are coming to the next part of the central nervous system, that is called as spinal cord. So as everyone knows that we have the spinal cord in this form, which is which we call it as the vertebral column, right? So in the form of vertebral column, as you know that brain is covered by skull. So these spinal nerves, that is, these are covered, spinal cord, that is covered by the vertebral column. There are different types of vertebrae in the practicals also. I don't remember whether in the 11th standard you have learned or not, but just I'll revise that these all vertebrae, total vertebrae, these are divided into, as per the regions where they are present, they are known by cervical vertebrae, the vertebrae which are present in the neck region, thoracic vertebrae which are present in the thorax region, chest region, then lumbar vertebrae which are present below the thorax region, that is the lumbar part, and the last part, that is the sacrum. So this is what, and this is the anterior part, anterior area, and this is the posterior surface. Now, when you come to the structure of spinal cord, that is, as I told you right now, that spinal cord is located in the vertebral canal, that is neutral canal of the vertebral column, and it is protected by vertebral arches and the spinal meninges. Just like brain, here also these are covered by 3 layers, like outermost as the spinal meninges, just like brain, how the brain is covered by the 3 layers or the 3 meninges or the coverings or coatings. The same way here also they are known as outermost as dura mater, middle one as arachnoid matter, and the innermost as pia matter. Now again here also this it is dura mater as the outermost layer. It is shown by white columns. Then similarly, arachnoid middle one and the pia, that is the innermost. These are the meninges or the coatings or the coverings, or that is also called as matter of the spinal cord. Now, how again it looks, the spinal cord extends from medulla oblongata to the superior border of the second lumbar vertebra in the adult. Now means what? Yesterday we discussed that medulla oblongata extends and comes out of the cranium and it continues with the spinal cord. Yesterday I told you, I showed you also. So the same way, the spinal cord extends from the medulla oblongata, that is a part of the brain stem, that it comes out of the cranium and to the superior border of the second, up to what? To the superior border of the second lumbar vertebra in adult. Here, this is all the lumbar vertebra, where total how many and all that we will discuss right now. So this is, you have to remember that this is the second this part, that is the spinal cord. How the cervical spinal nerves, then thoracic spinal nerves, then lumbar spinal nerves, and then sacral spinal nerves. So superior enlargement of the spinal cord is called cervical enlargement. Superiorly, how they look, that is what called as cervical enlargement. And the inferior enlargement of the spinal cord called as lumbar enlargement. So this part which extends from brain stem, this part up to the second lumbar, that is considered to be the superior, and the last part, that is considered to be the inferior. So superior enlargement and inferior enlargement, you just remember only the names, that is also enough. So accordingly, the as per the layers it is shown just like that, but it is not that much necessary to remember. Now, inferior to the lumbar enlargement, the spinal cord tapers to a conical portion known as conus medullaris. This conus medullaris ends at the level of the intervertebral discs between the first and the second lumbar vertebrae in the adult. Now see, if you see the structure, how it looks. Here it is broader from here. Then again in the middle, it is little bit narrower, and again here it little bit broader, and at the end it tapers, and this is what called as conus medullaris, this end part. And then the last part, which is called as cauda equina. Now what is that, I will tell you in the next, when in the it is considered as the adult spinal cord. It looks like this. These are the nerve roots, and this is the entire the spinal cord, that is the base of the brain, and these are all remaining peripheral nerves. Okay, so this is the part that is the inferior to the lumbar enlargement. The spinal cord tapers to a conical portion. So this conical portion is called as conus medullaris, and it ends in the cauda equina. What is that cauda equina? I'll tell you in the next diagram. See, here again it is shown. This is what conus medullaris, which with tapering into this conical structure. So this is called as conus medullaris, and which ends like the horse tail shaped structure, that is cauda equina. Okay, so the extension of conus medullaris as the non-nervous fibrous tissue to the coccyx is called filum terminale. Filum terminale, that is nothing but called, considered to be the end portion, cauda equina. That cauda equina is nothing but, that is cauda equina is related to what the Latin name, that is horse tail structure. If you see this structure, the entire structure looks like in a horse tail structure, isn't it? Is how the hair of the horse tail, they are running parallel or showing like this, the same shape. The same shape it ends this spinal cord nerves ends into the similar type of structure. So this is called as cauda equina. So conus medullaris ends into the cauda equina. The entire structure that is called as. Now this is the simplest form of the spinal cord. where you have to learn this diagram very clearly, and that is not difficult also. If you see this structure, you can see these two parts. This entire spinal cord shows two parts by this suture or fissure, you can see, or the depression. With the help of this suture or the fissure or the depression, the spinal cord can be seen in two parts, right? So this is the front part and this is the back part. So front part is called as ventral side, and this back side is considered to the dorsal side of the spinal cord. Then again, you can remember that each right and left part of this is showing the outer part as the white structure, and in that you can see the gray colored structure. So this is the, and here you can see one more thing you can remember here. From this gray structure, this extension till, which extends till the white matter of the spinal cord, that is called as dorsal horn, that is present in the dorsal region, which looks, this extension is called as dorsal horn in both the sides, both the structures, or you can say parts. And so outer part is shown by white matter, that is made up of white matter, whereas the inner part, that is made up of gray matter. So inner gray matter, that gray matter is surrounded by white matter. Then this, here also you can see the extension, that gray matter extends till the last end in the white matter it reaches, that is called as ventral horn. And one more thing you can see in the diagram, that is the central canal. This is the central canal present. Okay, then one more thing, this dorsal horn here, it from there, the end of this dorsal hand that extends, that is called as dorsal root, from where there is passing of the sensory neuron. Now in the next diagram I will explain it again. So these important parts you need to remember. I'll repeat again that with the help of these narrow fissures or depressions, or you can say the sutures, this entire spinal cord is seen to be divided into two parts, whereas at the center, the canal, the cavity which is present, that is called as central canal. Then this gray matter, which looks like horseshoe shaped structure, is present at the center, that is made up of gray matter, and that is surrounded by white matter. Then this is the dorsal side, dorsal fissure. This is the ventral side, ventral fissure. Then again, the gray matter get extends till the white matter, that is called as dorsal horn. The same way here it is called as ventral horn in both the parts of this right and left part of the spinal cord. Okay, then the end part, which extension of this root, that is called as dorsal root, extension of this horn that extends into dorsal root. Again in the next diagram I will explain. So anterior part, that is called as ventral fissure, as I showed you in the previous diagram. So the spinal cord is divided into right and left by halves. That halves make the spinal cord into left and right. So anteriorly, that is called as ventral median fissure, and posterior, that is dorsal median sulcus or fissure, whatever you say. The spinal cord has central gray matter surrounded by white matter. Again, it is clearly shown in the diagram. This is the central cavity. This is the gray matter, which gives the shape of horseshoe shaped structure, both the parts, right and left, and which surrounds, it is surrounded by white matter. Okay. So the gray matter is composed of cell bodies, neuroglia, dendrites, and unmyelinated axons. Now you always remember, the gray matter surrounds a narrow longitudinal cavity called central canal or spinal neurocele. This is what central cavity I said, that is the central canal. So Gray matter surrounds a narrow longitudinal cavity that is called as central canal or spinal neurocele. And always remember that whenever the gray color is there, that is because of the cell bodies of the neuron as well as non-myelinated axon as well as dendrites. So this gray color is because of the cyton. If you remember the structure of neuron, which is showing the main important parts as cyton, axon and dendrons, where cyton and dendrons along with non-myelinated or non-unmyelinated axons, they when are present in this area, they give gray appearance. And why the white color is there? That white color is because of the myelinated nerve fibers. That means what is the myelinated nerve fiber? Myelinated part is of axon. Axon, when it is covered by myelinated sheath, that gives the white appearance. So wherever you can see the white area where myelinated part of the axon is present, and wherever you see gray area, there is cyton, that is the cell body which contains the nucleus and all remaining organelles, that is the cyton, along with the extensions called as dendrites as well as non-myelinated axons are present. So gray appearance is because of cell bodies. Neuroglia also. Neuroglia are supporting cells of neuron, right? If you remember first previous lectures, I have told you. Okay. So remember this. Why this white color? White color is because of the myelinated axons, and gray color is because of the cyton as well as dendrites. That means cyton is nothing but the cell bodies of the neuron, dendrites of the neuron as well as non-myelinated axons, and neuroglia, that means supporting cells. Six different types of supporting cells we have studied, right? That you remember. So the central canal is the continuation of the fourth ventricle of the brain. Just now we discussed different ventricles, right? So that fourth ventricle continues from the brain to the central canal of the spinal cord. Okay, so that is in continuation from fourth ventricle of the brain to this spinal cord. So the central canal is lined by ependymal epithelium. That is nothing but the epithelium. If you remember the supporting cells, one of the types of supporting cells, ependymal epithelium, responsible for again the formation of the CSF also, and these are supporting cells, one of the types of supporting cells which show the presence of hair-like structures. Ependymal, these are epidermal and what you can say supporting as well as protective cells. These are, as you know, that epithelium, and that is related to the function of protection. The same way here also protecting. So the gray matter forms pair of anterior horns and posterior horns. As I showed you in the first diagram, previous diagram, these extensions of the gray matters which are coming to the white matter, seen in the white matter, these are considered to be horn-like structures, appearance of horn-like structures, which are present in the ventral region, they are called as anterior horns, which are present in the posterior region, they are called as posterior horns. That means dorsal. So the white matter consists of myelinated axons, as I said just now. And the white matter is organized into four funiculi. That is these four, two dorsal and two ventral, two anterior and two posterior. So pair of lateral funiculi. So spinal cord acts as a coordinating center for simple spinal reflexes. Now some of you know what the reflex action is there. So different types of reflexes are shown. The spinal cord conducts sensory and motor impulses to and from the brain, and therefore acts as the middleman between the receptors and the effectors. Receptors, which are considered to be the sense organs, all the sense organs which receive, it may be ear, it may be eye, it may be nose, it may be skin, isn't it? So all five different tongue. So all these five different organs, sense organs, are considered to be the sensory organs. So spinal cord conducts the sensory as well as motor, that is carried, that sense, that is sensed first, that is the receptors, and so sensory and motor impulses to and from the brain, and therefore means it carries towards brain, and from the brain again to the effector, again to the sense organ, means the it receives. For example, it if you see something dangerous in front of you, that means that is received, that is received by your sense organ. So that information is received and carried to the, it is transported through spinal cord to the brain, and from then what is to be done, that action is to be taken, and that carried what is to be done, what action is to be done, that from the brain again through the spinal cord to the sense organ, that is the effector. So the sense organ is receptor as well as effector in this way. Okay, so this is what done with the help of this spinal cord. So we have studied the structure as well as functions of spinal cord. Now, so we have completed the central nervous system. Central nervous system, which includes the brain and spinal cord. Now we discuss the parts of the brain, all the three parts, its location, that is position, the structure as well as functions. Then we discuss the four types of ventricles. Then we discuss the second part of the central nervous system as spinal cord. If you have learned, if you have understood, we will go ahead for the peripheral neural system or nervous system. The second is peripheral nervous system, that is also called as PNS, and which includes cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. So peripheral nervous system or neural system, it includes cranial nerves, which are which the origin is in the cranium, origin or end is in the cranium, they are called as cranial nerves, and spinal nerves, that means origin or the end is in the spinal region. So they arise from brain and enter or emerge out of the cranium through the different foramina. Foramina, these are the passages, and there are total 12 pairs in all. Okay, so these cranial nerves, these are known as olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear, then glossopharyngeal, vagus, accessory, and hypoglossal. These are all total 12 nerves. These are all shown, but before we start these all cranial nerves and its function, I would like to show you a video, so that if you have any doubt, you can ask me then. I will show you the video.
Dendrite, mitochondria, axon, and neuronal zone. Typical neuron consists of three main cellular compartments.
Can you hear the voice of the video?
No, ma'am.
Okay, wait. Okay, I will explain that voice will not come. This is the revision of the neuron, that is the cell body, which shows the presence of nucleus along with the nuclear organelles. These are dendrites. These are having the branches which are responsible for synapses. These are the ion channels for during the synapses. It is helpful. These are called dendritic spines. These are primary dendrites which arises from soma. More extended branches are also seen. One of the dendrons gets extended. Mitochondria is the source of energy for the nerve cell, which gives different types of enzymes are secreted which help in the synapses. The entire structure, this is called as axon, one of the extensions of the dendrites. These sheets are called as the myelinated sheaths or Schwann cells. The smooth ER are present there. Also provides, works as the storage of calcium. This axon divides into number of branches. These are called as terminal buttons. These endings are called as terminal buttons. This is the sheath of myelin. It is wrapped around the axon, and in between that, some area there is no sheath, that is called as node of Ranvier. It shows the peripheral nucleus, each cell, Schwann cell. In CNS, most of the neurons are myelinated. So these are the receptors which receives the information to the cell body, and from the axon, then this information, what information is passed in this way in the jumping manner, so 100 times faster this information is moved to the end of the axon. And then here is the synaptic complex where it communicates with the next part of the dendrite, next dendrite. Okay, I'll come to the. Okay, have you understood? I will start the next part, but before that I want to ask you, have you understood this region so that we can continue with the next part? That is, we have finished the central nervous system. I will stop my presentation. We'll have some discussion first, and then we'll come for the next part.